hiring process when it comes from an administration level, when you're looking for like a head coach? Let's say you're looking for a head coach for your women's basketball program. What's that process look like? Do you physically, like, are you looking? Do you have a search committee? If you do have a search committee, like how does that work when you're looking for that next candidate?
Well, you always look at, as the athletic director, the buck stops with me in my department. I report up to the president. So you have to be very involved with all your processes. Either you're going to have a selection committee, but the bottom line at the end of the day, you're going to have to be the one to authorize that person as the coach. So you're going to have to be very involved with the details of who you want and how you want them to fit in. And that's a key issue. Even when you're going to college or you're a job, you know, it could be the greatest job. So we want someone that's going to be a good fit for Bowie State University. And when I came into Bowie, I had to make a transition with my women's head basketball coach because I got bombarded with a lot of issues that were going on with the women's program. So I took a very intentional approach to finding the next head coach for women's basketball. And they came out the woodwork. I had like 150 applications. Wow. And so you have to now, it's like a funnel. You get this large pool of applications and you got to funnel it down and then you got to narrow it down. And you go out a lot of references of who you know and who they know. It's a small world. You know, this business of sports is very small. Someone knows somebody and somebody has been someplace that you know about that you can ask for references and refer to. What kind of person is this person? What kind of person is that person? And is they a right fit for what we're doing over here at my particular institution? I get that all the time from other people who are trying to look for coaches. We had 2 vacancies just now in the CIAA. The women's basketball coach from Virginia Union left, went back to D1. The men's coach at Lincoln left. They're looking for a coach there. They hired 2 great people. And our head coach, Sade Swan, was a former assistant coach. So I'm looking for someone with some experience. I'm looking for someone who has some experience and has been around a program that has been successful. Now, success is not just wins. Mm-hmm. Success is a multitude of different facets. It's education, it's participation, it's community service. It's how the ladies leave talking about your program. What do they feel about your program when they leave out that door? Did they have a good time? I want to make sure they had a good experience. You only get 4 years to be a student athlete. You got to be 40 years of doing what we do, working. Mm-hmm. So were those 4 years impactful for you? Did you get out your experience here? Did you train? Were you a better student athlete? Were you a better student when you leave after that certain time before you came in? So those are the things you're looking for a coach to be able to talk to those things and then be able to manage the compliance issue. I mean, without compliance, we're all out the door. You have to be able to follow the rules, regulations, understand them, recruitment, dead periods. So when I start talking to you in those veins, I want to know, do you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And you'll be able to work within the framework of compliance. So you're looking for someone who's holistic, someone who's hungry, someone who's going to listen to you also too. You know, you don't want to come in somebody who's going to tell you all about what they've done and yes, okay, that's great. I've been there, done that. What are you going to do now? How are you going to manage this program moving forward to make these ladies better? Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. And that's what I'm looking for when I would hire a head coach.
Love that. Love
nice.
that.
Wow.
And you know, you said something about compliance. You know, I remember, are we frozen? I hope we're not frozen.
We're good.
We're good.
You're frozen, but you're still, I can still hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So when you said something about compliance, it made me think about when I was an assistant coach at Marshall in my first year, when I went out recruiting, you know, I had broke a rule and I didn't even know. I was like, you know, I had texted a kid when we weren't supposed to be texting. So that was one thing that kind of had set me back. And I was like, you know what, let me go over this rule book and let me really make sure like I'm clear with everything. And I had to learn that as a young coach, like, hey, you may be the best recruiter in the world, but if you don't follow the rules, you may not be around for a long time. So it's funny that you said that because I think that's a huge thing that you just touched on. I thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's very critical because as simple as something like you just mentioned as a text message, you don't think it's a big deal. It's a violation during a certain period of time. So you got to understand those things. And the first thing I tell every new coach in this business or anybody in the business, if you don't know if you can do it, ask somebody. Just always ask.
Absolutely.
And they'll tell you, yeah, you can do it, Clyde. Nope, this is the period. So you're learning as you go along, so you don't ruin your career before you even get started.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So moving more into that hiring process, and now, you know, let's say that you have a candidate that you feel like is a potential candidate, and you kind of start corresponding with this person. A lot of coaches want to know, when is it too much? Because some coaches may be going over the top. Let's say, you know, I'm interested in an opening that you have. When is it too much for a candidate when it comes to corresponding? Like, if I reach out to you, at what point are you like, okay, you need to stop?
Well, I never get like that personally. I understand that anxiety that folks have when they're trying to go through these positions. So I put myself in their position. I try to give as much feedback as I can. Now, someone who has received feedback and continues to push and push and push, you know that's going to be an issue. Yeah. So you got to manage yourself also too during this process. It's one thing if we're not getting back to you, I can understand your anxiety. But if we're getting back to you and we explain it, and that's one thing I have to do when you have a hiring process, you have to explain every detail of what you're doing to these folks so they can be assured that they get the right information and they know what's going on in the process. So that's one thing I try to do, even with a search committee or if I'm doing it by myself. You got to follow through on that. You got to let them know. And even when they don't get the job, you know, for those top candidates that you bring in, you go with another coach, and you wish them well. Mm-hmm. So you just got to be upfront and involved with them. And the person that's on the other side has to be understanding that you're doing a job too, also too. And it's not that you're overlooking them. So it's a fine line. And you just try to manage it. Like I said, you just try to manage the situation. Got you.
Thanks for that. So now let's move more along the lines of what exactly do athletic directors and yourself, what are you looking for in that candidate? I know a couple of things that you already kind of mentioned was, you know, you definitely want them to be somebody that listens, that can take advice, that can make adjustments. What are some of the other characteristics that you look for in a candidate to be a head coach with any of your programs?
Well, first of all, athletics is an aggressive environment. Coaches, if you don't have some fire underneath you, I can't use you. Because if I got to stick a prod up your butt to get you going, then you're not valuable to me. Because I'd rather have to put some reins on you and pull you back, and we work together to get to that common goal. So I look for someone who has a lot of confidence in their abilities to do something, and not only talking about it, but you can show me exactly how you're going to do it. You know, we live in a world of technology, social media. So there's a lot out there now. Even when I was hired at Bowie, they went right to my social media pages and they pulled up everything and looked at my history. So you can't lie to a certain extent because the truth is going to catch up with you. So I look for someone who's very truthful, who's honest, who's aggressive to a certain point that they understand that their goal is to achieve success. And I want to hear that. And I want to look in their eyes like I'm looking at Joel and say, you guys are very dedicated and focused on what you want to do. So that is when you start picking up those common vibes with somebody and they can tell you the things that you're trying to hear. There's always buzzwords that anybody in the business is looking for. And when you start saying those buzzwords, they're looking for that continuity. I'm looking to educate. I'm looking to grow. I want growth out of my program. And I'm not looking to coach to come out here and win a national championship tomorrow. That's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. No, but this is our first step. Where were we at when you came in here and where are we now? Where's the movement going from there? So you want to see that transition every year to another step. Like when you're trying to get to the top, you got to start at the bottom. No one builds the second floor. You build the first floor first. Yeah. And until you get the first floor established in your foundation, you can't get to the second floor unless you build some steps. So we got to build steps till we get to that plateau where we want to be. And then when you get there, you're going to have to start building the third floor. Because once you get there, you got that much more to go because you're never going to get there. So we just want that sustainability and that continuity. And when you look at somebody, you know, if you've been in the business a long time, and look, it's not foolproof. We've hired coaches. I'm quite sure you've taken on students and people in your program that you thought would go. You just mentioned that, and next thing you know, boom, this was not a good idea. This was not a good hire. This was not a good association. This is not a good relationship. So relationship building is critical. So your lived experience will dictate how you make your next decision, and that's what you base it upon. And if you make the same mistakes twice, then you aren't learning. So I want people to grow. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not fallible. You know, I'm going to make mistakes. I own up to my mistakes and I keep it moving. And we work together as a unit, especially in these times now that we're home, and we're talking like this. My staff is talking like this. We have become more synergized together and working together and cohesive because we have to. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out very strongly that this is what we have to do until we get back to social engagement. So you're looking for those things in coaches who are going to be, and what are you going to do for me outside of basketball? Our alumni and our community is very, very important to the success of intercollegiate athletics. I want somebody that's going to be able to get out in the community, internally and externally, and speak to those people and engage them and support Bowie State University in all kinds of different ways, just not basketball. You got to think outside it. Basketball gets you in the box. What are you going to do to get out the box now to improve your brand? And it's about your brand. Your brand. When you don't brand yourself, others brand you. You develop who you are, and then they start branding you and say, "Oh, Clyde's a good guy." That program they're running over there in Copac, great program. They might forget your name, get it wrong, but they never forget how you made them feel.
Very true. Wow, that was a gem.
Man.
God.
Man, I'm going to have to get some water and throw it on you bringing that fire.
That was a gem.
You know, I stole that. That's Maya Angelou. She said that, and I stand by that. You know, you got to make people forget, and they'll remember how you make them feel.
Love that. So you actually said something that caught my attention when you said, you know, we had some situations where it didn't work with some of our coaches. What are some of the things that coaches should stay away from, I should say? What are some of the things that are like a big no-no when it comes to an administration perspective?
Not following up. You know, I always tell when I hire a coach, I draw the pie chart and I start carving it up. And I say, this little sliver here, that's when you're going to be happy. That's when you're going to coach. You're going to get your 20 hours a week on the court with your student athletes. But then there's recruiting. There's compliance. There's community service. All these different chunks come and make the pie whole. So if you can't fulfill those chunks, a lot of coaches get narrow-minded into that coaching part. That's all I'm here to do. You got to be holistic. You got to be involved in the big piece of pie. You got to be engaged with your peers, your other coaches, your other administrators. You got to do paperwork. You know, as a coach, unless you're at Duke someplace when you got a staff like this long, you know, you still got doing a lot of administrative work. So you got to, if you're not doing it and you have people doing it, you got to make sure they are doing it because you're going to be the one responsible for it. Just like the coaches are responsible to me, and I got to make sure they're doing what they're doing. My administrators are responsible to me. I got to make sure I don't micromanage, but at the bottom line, when the president asks me what's going on, they're not asking them,
Right.
Mr. Doughty, what's going on? So I have to be in a position to respond to her, and they have to be in a position to do what they need to do. So getting things wrong would be not being part of the entire process and engaging yourself holistically in the institution and in what we're doing as a department, not being around when you're called upon, not volunteering. Volunteerism is huge, and because it's the right thing to do, and it develops our brand in a way that only you can do it. Coaches are very important. If you guys as coaches tell your student athlete to go up on that roof and jump off, they will go up there and think about it because they want to play for you. You know, I'm an administrator. They go, yeah, there goes Mr. Doughty, and he's telling us the old company line. But the coach, they come to a school for you. They come to your program for you, and then you now are responsible. You become that surrogate parent, so to speak, while they are with you, and they rely on you. And you see how many people live and die by their coaches. You know, no matter how great a player they were, that's my coach. My college coach to this day is my papa. I call him every week. He's down in Miami. We have the greatest relationship in the world. Without him, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
What he did for me intrinsically. You know, forget the basketball. That's way past. I haven't played basketball on that level in 40 years. But what we have now is valuable. So that's what you're looking for people to say, my coach made a difference in my life. My administration made a difference in my life. And yet you're looking for people to transition people from when they come in the door as puppies and when they leave as bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
Man, more fire.
Wow.
So now let's kind of, we're going to change gears a little bit, and we're going to ask some of the questions from our group members with some things that they wanted to know about and some questions that they had. While Babe is actually pulling that up, I actually wanted to ask you about, you know, if somebody is in the coaching ranks, right, and they are an assistant coach, and then you have a head coach as a prospect as well, is there anything that you're looking for in that assistant coach to be able to show you that, oh, you know what, this person is ready to run their own program, this person is ready to take that next step up? Or do you kind of go more towards the person that is already a head coach?
No, I look at folks on an equal playing field. Of course, a head coach has more experience and it has that title and has been there. That doesn't mean that assistant coach is not as experienced also too and can't do the job as well. So I look at it on an even playing field. And from an assistant coach's point, you look for someone who's very supportive of their head coach. Too many times you get people stabbing each other in the back, trying to jump over them to get a job. And, you know, you got to be very weary of that, because if they're doing it there, they're going to do it, continue to do it in other forms of fashion. Mm-hmm. So I don't differentiate the titles. You're differentiating for me as a person. I'm looking for what you bring to the table. So that does not really, you know, move me too much. Yes, I'll take into account that, yeah, you have been a head coach. And what have you done as a head coach? There are a lot of hungry assistants. And if you notice in our environment, they just keep recycling these old same people all the time. Come on, man. There's other people out here who can do these jobs. To give them an opportunity to show what they can do. So I'm looking to see the next person come along. I'm all about student development. I've been in that business for a long time with the NCAA. You know, I'm on